yada yada, blah blah blah. Sorry that happened to you, or apologies, and I hope that you're better, or that congratulations on what happened.
That is so based. See ya. See ya. Womp womp. But YouTube Drama has posted this. Apparently, Ethan from H3 has committed a grave misdeed. And he has covered an abuse story with no care. I've literally got a 30-second clip of it. So it's this here. Do We Know Them podcast? For over a year, I've been trying to get someone to cover my story of abuse SA while working for a YouTuber to save others from this cult, and Ethan from H3 finally did it. Unfortunately, he was super insensitive about the most traumatizing experience of my life. I wish they'd cover it on DWKT.
Okay, that's wonderful. But how do I make money off depressed people?
When Chud's gone, I'm gonna start spending super chat money on drugs again. It's Joe Ever.
Thank you for the $5. Here's the problem. If you're speaking to a journalist directly in order to get a story out there, it's reasonable that you would expect them to have some sensitivity when they're talking about it in their article, right? But if a third party is coming along, looking at your situation and going, oh, I'm going to talk about this, yeah, I don't think you can expect a level of sensitivity about it. It's like, yeah, they're going to say what they want to say about it. It reminds me of when people are like, oh, I put a tweet logger out and someone questioned me and didn't just agree with everything I said. Anyway, what is this lack of sensitivity? Let's see.
The pastor, for some reason. Pastor is the blah 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 dangerous abusive cult in LA. Animals abuse. I was working as an editor. Yada yada, blah blah blah. Sorry that happened to you, or apologies, and I hope that you're better, or that congratulations on what happened.
Yeah, I figured something was up with him whenever he had merch.
That is so based. No wonder I couldn't find the footage of this. It's literally just... Also, someone pointed this out in chat too. Ethan Klein H3 is comedy. It's a comedy show. Womp womp. Dude, it's so lame. Oh, the comedy podcast didn't pay due diligence and look over my story in detail and just kind of dismissively. Yeah, of course. Bro, what is this story anyway? I mean, I wouldn't want to read through all this, to be honest. It's a bit much, isn't it? Well, I'm going to read it, obviously. I feel like I've got to now. Let's find it. Here we go. Wait. Oh, this is the same thing. Where's the original post? Hang on, I might be able to find it here. What is it? What was the original post? What's it called? Dangerous abusive cult in LA, backed by YouTube with over 7 million subscribers. Does anyone have like a link to it? Oh, hang on, I might have it here. Is this it? That pastor from Vitaly's stream is the leader of an abusive cult in LA. When I told Fearless LA Church that I was essayed under their roof and was concerned that I was filmed not consensually, I was ostracized and blocked on all social media by the church and members that I knew. My abuser, Zachary Dean Nageli, my boss at the time, was protected. After being told about this isn't the same thing, is it? I did click the username, but it came up with a bunch of shit. After being told about the abuse I endured working for them and sending them pictures of my bruised body, I was told it was my fault. My abuser kept working and being promoted to millions of people and was still sent on a mission trip to be around even more vulnerable women with less resources than I have. Okay, I'll play the intro. Okay, I'm doing it. A man's life hangs in the balance. Yep, it's a rate review.
Earlier this year, I was working for the professor Grayson Boucher and his cousin Zach Nagelli. Zach used his position of power to sexually, physically, and emotionally abuse me. I reported this to Grayson. Zach did not face any real consequences, and Grayson still continues to work with him. And I reported.
Well, thanks for letting me know this, Quincy. I'm no idea. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's not healthy at all for sure. Let me pray on. Let me pray on this. Let me just have a word with the big man upstairs. See what he's got to think about all this. Okay, I'll get back to you. Oh, I'm having trouble reaching the big man, to be honest. So it's going to be a little while. Talk to some people older than me about what action to take here. There's a lot to process. It's not your fault, thank you. You don't need to come in for now. I know this negatively affects so many people. I'm so sorry. It's okay. You have to voice what's going on for sure.
Reported this to Grayson. Zach did not face any real consequences, and Grayson still continues to work with him and promote him to his millions of followers. He just brought him on his most recent Australian tour. I did not receive an apology from Zach or any resources to heal from the trauma. Both Grayson and Zach just blocked me on everything, I assume, hoping all of this would just go away. If you've seen Zach's social media...
I mean, I don't know what the reality of this is. I mean, obviously, going to the police is a big step to try and resolve this and get some sort of legal consequence and whatever. But yeah, I'm just a bit like... I was going to say something and I forgot. I forgot what I was going to say, dude. Okay, let's continue for now.
presence. His thing is he was an abusive meth addict for over 10 years, but then he found God and completely changed his ways. He's going on a mission trip to Nepal at the end of next month, and Fearless LA Church knows about what he did to me and is still enabling and supporting this abusive man to go. On March 6th, I started working for them full-time as a video editor / production assistant and getting paid less than minimum wage. I was just so excited for the opportunity to work with a big creator and thought it would lead to greater opportunities, but instead I'm left with trauma and thousands in medical and therapy bills. Most days it was just me and Zach in the office, layer 12, but it was a shared space with Fearless LA, so often the pastors, David and Sarah Turner, their toddler, and other members from the church would be around. A few weeks into working for them, Zach started to constantly flirt with me, would say suggestive things.
So I'm hoping there's, some sort of evidence here. So I guess we'll wait and see, but... I mean, the trouble with this is... Oh, well, sorry, I remember what I was going to say. It's kind of crazy to think that in this era, you can get away with blocking someone. Like, that is like literally the worst thing that you can do. Because all they'll do is they'll make a public statement about it. You're far better off actually trying to engage and resolve whatever the issue is in some way. Like, this was inevitable that this was going to happen. Ignoring it is not going to help.
And would get me more opportunities to participate at the shoots. This was my first time receiving this amount of attention, so I did develop a crush on him, even though I thought he was weird because he was my boss. It seemed like he was trying to sleep.
Uh-oh. Oh, no, wait a second. A twist in the tale. We'll hear a bit more. The obvious problem you're going to run into with this is, oh, hey, this woman messaged me and said you were doing this weird shit. Oh, yeah, shit, yeah. We did some stuff together. And she was, like, do you know what I mean? He's clearly going to present the image that she was into it in some fashion. And she's probably going to get written off as some person that's trying to cause trouble and nothing really that bad happened. Well, hang on a sec, guys. Wait, whoa. Slow down. Let's hear her out. And see what she says, okay? They could, even if it's a consensual thing, maybe he took it too far. Maybe it could be worse.
Sleep with me, but at the same time would lecture me about how bad premarital sex, drinking, and drugs were, even though I wasn't partaking in any of those activities during that time. He invited me to go to Fearless Church services with him and Grayson twice. Grayson told me they had issues finding good employees and never kept people around for more than a few months, which I was fearful of happening to me. So of course I went to the services and I would do everything I could to impress them. At the service on April 16th, Zach sat extremely close to me and kept rubbing up against me. On April 21st, he asked me out for drinks. We went to...
Wait, what's this? I mean, that's just showing that you're close to... I guess you can't prove that that happened, but this doesn't really show us anything to back your claim up. Just, oh, you were both there.
against me. On April 20.
If you don't hang with your friend, too late. Join me and have a drink with me in the Arts District. Unless you're scared. I'm not. I'll see you later. Dancing man emoji.
First, we went to a bar and after went back to his place. There he told me about being physically abusive in past relationships and showed me his cat's cast from the time he got so upset that he threw his cat across the room and broke his leg. That night I found out he was still using drugs and heavily drinking. I was terrified of him but also attached to him and scared of losing my job.
Okay, this is messy. This is very fucking messy. So... there is, dude. I think I'm starting to understand why maybe they. I mean, I think it's stupid and they shouldn't have done this. They should have handled it differently. But it probably is exactly that. They've gone to him and said, "Look, we got this report that you're doing this," and he's told his side of it, and they've gone, "Oh, this person's just fucking around, trying to fuck us up." Block, 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 block.
We slept together for the first time that night, which I did consent to. After it became an extremely hostile workplace, he was always drunk and high both in and out of the office. I would go over to his place where we would drink, smoke, and sleep together. I wasn't being forced to go, but he was extremely manipulative, and again, he was my boss. He would choke me and bite me until I was left with bruises. He told me he wished he could bite off my flesh. It seemed like he would only be nice to me if something sexual was occurring. He once
Okay, this is fast becoming a bullshit allegation. Sounds like a good time. I mean, if someone is doing something to you in a sexual fashion that you don't like, you've got to say, I don't like that. And then if they continue, then you need to end things because obviously they're not going to respect your boundaries, right?
once gave me the wrong info, so I missed the shoot. When he called me up into the conference room, I didn't know if he was going to tell me that I fucked up an edit or if he was going to grope me, take out his penis, and masturbate in front of me, while repeatedly asking me to perform oral sex on him until I said yes, even though I told him how uncomfortable I was. There were security cameras that I was scared would record us, and he told me it was fine. He had already checked the cameras before because he would masturbate in there while thinking about me. To this day, I still don't know if I was recorded. I would respond in his advances in the way I thought he wanted, so he would be nice to me and not tell Grayson that I was messing up.
Okay, what is this thing that, because there's another aspect to this, it's a cult thing. So it's some sort of religious thing. Yeah, dude, I am very, the more she says, the more skeptical I become. So they're Christians and they're not following their religion doing sexual shit. He should be charged with abusing the mentally disabled, if anything. Nah, there's way too much consent stuff happening here. I mean, like, I'm sure there could be like inappropriate situations. There could be circumstances where he pushed a line or something like that. But unless there's like, you know, he's really assaulting you or something, it's like, I don't know. It just seems like maybe he was inappropriate at certain times. I don't know if there's a good argument here that he's done anything except be inappropriate or on occasion push things a bit far in one direction or another. I'm not really hearing yet a particularly egregious act that would make me get on board with this, or it's a cult and they're abusing me type allegations.
If I didn't greet him in a way acceptable to him, he would tell me I had an attitude, was being immature, and say things like, "You don't respect me like you respect Grayson." Zach would often use slurs and make homophobic, racist, and transphobic remarks.
Okay, and what's the example we got of that? My name is written in red. Oh no. Are you going to half kill me since you're half Asian? Wacky face. Yes. And this is the best example you could muster of this egregious racism. I'm not, but this is fucking bullshit, dude. Come on.
Remarks. He told me if I acted on my attraction towards women that it was the same.
Also, what does it matter? Okay. Like, if someone is sexually assaulting you, why do you care about if they're racist while they're doing it, right? Like, surely it would be about the assault. And this racism thing is just, why mention that? Why even bring it up? Why bring up the homophobia thing? I guess you could argue the racism thing could be aimed at you as part of the abuse, but which doesn't seem to be the case, really. But what was homophobia got to do with it?
As and murder in the eyes of God, yet he would sexualize my platonic relationships with other women. To get me to stay silent, he would say things like, you know you were just handed this job, don't fuck it up, and if you tell anyone, you'll just get fired, I'm too valuable, and that I shouldn't do that because he genuinely cared about my career.
Okay. Now that is, you know, that's moving towards a more inappropriate behavior, but do we have any examples of this? Any messages? Any messages that you can show us that back this up? Because I'm unfortunately not just going to take your word for it. Like, some proof would be good here.
On May 8th, I finally gave in to having intercourse with him in the office. This was the only time I did drugs in the office, so I would be less uncomfortable with the situation. After this, he self-admittedly started being even more hostile to create distance between us.
So you consented to sex... Okay, women, here's a tip. Here's a tip for you, okay? If you don't want to have sex, don't do it. I know that's a crazy take, but your best bet is to not do it, okay?
Because he decided he no longer wanted to sleep with me. On May 16th, he told me that we could sleep together one last time. We did, and he told me if I told anyone what he had done, I'll come for you, whoever you're with, and I'll kill your dog.
So this is in quotation marks. I guess this was in person. Okay, well, how was it said? Was it said, like, viciously pinned you up against the wall with your hand around your throat? Or was it more of a jovial, like, you know... like, this sounds bad, but you could say this in a jokey way. You could say this in a way that's more like, you know, messing around, rather than actually a serious threat. Like, clearly, he doesn't want this to get out, which is totally reasonable that he doesn't want this to get out. So... it could be just a kind of an inappropriate joke, perhaps, or something like that. Rape logic, dude.
On May 20th, I finally reported the abuse to Grayson.
Hey, Quincy. Again, I'm so sorry about all of this. I can't believe this has been going on since March, and I'm sickened by it. As horrible and tough as it is, I'm glad you came forward with this. I've been talking to my pastor and all of my mentors today and this evening on how best to handle things moving forward. I'm going to address the situation with Zach tomorrow evening, and I'll contact you on Monday. Thanks again for your courage and honesty. Talk to you soon. So what does this person want? Because to me, you know, I think it would be reasonable to talk to them and for them to not do this again. I don't know if this is something where the guy would need to lose his job. I think this is more of a, you know, you shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be messing around with stuff like this. And there's some things here that are troubling. Don't do this again. Right? I don't know if this is something he'd need to lose his job for. I guess we'll find out if there's anything that's done.
Told me Zach was let go. I was given some unpaid days off.
Oh, was okay. Well, if he told you to let it go and he didn't, that's bad. Hey, Quincy. Hope you're hanging in there. I let Zach go today. Would love to meet up with you tomorrow at Redacted near your house if that's cool. Hi, Grayson. Thank you. I hope you are too. I know how difficult this must be for you too. Yes, sounds good. House 10:30 works for me. Yeah, difficult but necessary. God's had his hand on the situation. Maybe God brought him back. I don't know. Okay, cool. If you want your dad to be there as well, that's cool with me. Up to you.
I was given some unpaid days off, was not offered any help to pay for my therapy, and once I came back to work, I was given a lot of Zach's old responsibilities with no raise. The first video I was given to edit was one where I had to listen to my abuser's voice over and over and subtitle everything he said. Grayson would constantly talk to me about Zach when it was almost never necessary to the work we were doing. Zach was getting really good at editing. Haha, sorry. In an attempt to comfort me, he told me that when Zach was arrested, it was because he just barely pushed a woman off his arm and flipped a table, which made me feel like my concern over the threats made against me was being minimized. He would say things like, this is a good lesson. Guys are horny. It's just a little worse because he's a drug addict. And I used to...
Okay, I'm getting... oh my god. I'm getting super mega Lex Updog vibes from this. Is anyone else? I'm feeling a very Lex Updog energy from all this. So this guy got let go. Okay. And you then were able to take on some of these responsibilities. And, like, Sure, there could have been issues or errors in how they dealt with it, but you're then forming them as part of this complaint now as well. Sounds like you've just got a problem with this org and you're using whatever you can to get in there to attack this fucking org too.
To be a player too. I told Grayson I would appreciate him not bringing up Zach so much because it was triggering my PTSD.
Oh my god, dude. Look at this. Oh no. Look at this paragraph posting, dude. Oh my god, bro. In the 45 minutes we were together on Saturday, you brought up Zach at least 7 times. God, she sounds absolutely obnoxious to have to deal with this. When I hear about him, I have flashbacks of him masturbating in front of me in the conference room and him begging me to put it in my mouth after already saying no. It makes me feel sick to my stomach. I would appreciate if we avoided bringing him up when possible because it makes me very uncomfortable. I know he's your cousin and he was fired, but I feel like the severity of the whole situation isn't being completely understood. When you talk about the situation, I know you intend to make me feel better, but it does make me feel like my trauma is being minimized. He's not just a player who used a girl for sex. He used his position of power to completely take advantage of and abuse his employee in and out of the workplace. Yeah, dude. Based on the way she's described it, that does sound overstated to me. I know it's inevitable he will be in the background of some videos, but moving forward, I really don't think it's a good idea for him to be featured in videos or for his accounts to be promoted to your following. I think it could enable him to reach more people to harm. So now she's trying to dictate what... Dude. So now she's trying to dictate to him what he does beyond the bounds of removing him from the workplace. That seems a bit much, doesn't it? I'm sure there are other victims of his abuse. So if they were to speak out, based on how I've seen the internet react to similar situations, platforming him could come off as condoning his actions, even though I know you don't. This is Lex Updog Mark II. I know this is your brand, but as your employee, I just wanted to be transparent about my concerns. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, we don't need to bring him up anymore in conversation. I hear you.
He acknowledged my request, but continued to speak about Zach just as frequently. So on June 13th, I quit.
Grayson, I came to you about how bringing up Zach so frequently has given me PTSD flashbacks and severely affected my mental health, and you continue to talk about him just as often. A few of the times, you replaced saying Zach with the cuz or my cousin, and you apologized at the end of our meeting for bringing him up so much. While I appreciate that you recognize you were still doing it and apologize, for the sake of my emotional well-being, I can no longer work for you. After reporting Zach, I wasn't even offered for my therapy to be covered. I was given some unpaid days off and more responsibilities at work with no raise, which I believe to be unethical and unfair. Here are my hours for this month, and I can drop off the drives off at layer 12. Thanks for the opportunity. See ya! See ya! Womp womp. Okay.
I have a lot to unpack there, but, sorry you feel wronged.
I sent him these 2 texts that he ignored, and then he later blocked me.
I'm really hurting. So he got rid of his cousin from this org, and yeah, he didn't deal with it perfectly. I'm sure we can all agree that, he did things that were wrong in this. It was not perfect. And then you're just fucking moaning and moaning in his fucking ear. Dude, this person sounds so fucking obnoxious. I bet it was absolutely fucking hell having to deal with all of this. This is upsetting because all of this could have been avoided from the beginning. This is BP. She's BPD. She's got BPD. I bet she's got BPD. His recent abuse of his ex from the church was known, and I was still left alone with him in a position of power above me. Everyone thought it was fine because you thought Zach would find me unattractive, so I'd be safe from harm. He was on redacted and abusive for 10 years, didn't go to rehab, and just because he claims to love Jesus, he's no longer an abusive addict. Sometimes I can't even get out of bed to use the restroom, and I can't afford my therapist. I'm really hurting. Hi, Grayson. I emailed you on Monday, and I'm expecting a response. Thanks. This is a shake. This comes across like a shakedown, doesn't it? I want money too. Give me some money. This just comes across like a shakedown.
The only time he has interacted with me since then was when he declined my Venmo request to help me pay for therapy.
Ooh. So she was literally trying to get money too from Venmo. Oh my god, dude. Yeah, this seems very, very suspect, I must say.
I told Grayson's girlfriend that Zach was a bad person, and she told me she already knew that, because last year another woman from the church dated him, and he was abusive towards her as well. Grayson and the church pastors all knew about this. Grayson told me I would have never hired anyone I found attractive or I thought Zach would find attractive. I believe that leaving your female employee alone with a man in charge of her who has a long history of abusing women is negligent and naive, regardless of her appearance. He was on meth and abusive towards women for over 10 years. Grayson brought him out to LA. Zach never went to rehab, and just because he attends church, I guess everyone thinks he's fine. Pastor Sarah Turner offered to meet with me once a week to help heal from the trauma. She only met with me once, and it was just...
See, I think there's probably an argument about him being a fucker. I reckon that could be true. Like, I think it could be true that it's inappropriate for him to be working if that's his kind of background and stuff, and he's doing stuff like that. I just feel like she's overstating the case. Like, she's overstating the case to a tremendous degree in order to make it sound way worse, right? Because even in the description of it, yes, there were shitty things she accused him of doing, but none of it was, like, bad enough for it to cross, like, a threshold of, like, super egregious behavior, you know? Yeah, like, over-egging the pudding is what it comes across like to me. Yeah, he's probably, like, some sort of fuckboy. Something like that, probably.
Her trying to do damage control for the church. She assured me they were not protecting Zach, which is untrue. I brought up my concern for other women and the women in Nepal to both Pastors David and Sarah Turner. I was told it was not my responsibility and that I should only focus on my healing and relationship with God. That I needed to forgive him and move on. I told David I wanted to at least tell the women at the church what happened to me so that they could be cautious around.
This is why you don't blast big girls. Right, okay. That is, bro. The cult stuff, I think, is very lackluster. I don't agree with that at all. I don't agree with that comment either. That's very misogynistic, okay? And I'm not allowed to be misogynistic anymore in the UK. A fuckboy who has assaulted people. Yeah, I don't know the nature of this assault. If the assault was particularly egregious, sure. That's a stronger case that he's worse than a fuckboy. But I don't know. I don't know what the circumstances of that were. So, yeah. Also, I don't think that she got assaulted, right? It was the jerking off in front of her. It sounded like a Louis C.K. moment.
Around him. And he said, I don't think sharing your story would be helpful for anyone. I told him I wanted Zach to be held accountable for his actions, and he said he's being held accountable to God. A man in his 30s who never apologized, to my knowledge, never acknowledged what he did was wrong, and blocked me on everything. I'm sure he feels terrible and will never do it again. I told David I did not feel safe attending the church, and they prioritized Zach over me. No one deserves pastoring more than the other, and that if I felt unsafe, I could watch the service online. Sarah sent me this.
Wait, hang on a second. Now I'm confused. They let the guy go, and they let you continue to work for them, though.
Text that they couldn't tell either of us not to come to the church, and that I needed to stop constantly blaming them for what happened, which I never once did. I just felt like they were sweeping it under the rug, and I wanted to protect other people from getting hurt from this abusive man, and they were protecting him. I told another woman from the church about how upset I was with how the church was handling the situation.
Yeah, I feel this is a problem with some of these situations, is the woman feels like they're obligated to fix make it so no woman is at risk from this individual ever again. Like it's their burden to do so. And I don't know, it's not really, is it? Sweeping it under the pew. Yeah. I don't know. I just don't want it to seem like, because I do think that if this guy does sound like, there's an argument there is bad news. Maybe it is wrong that he works for this place and has this kind of access to people on that, potentially vulnerable people that are trying to move away from a bad light. Like, sure. I feel like it's overstated. And I feel like she's trying to rope in this organization into it too, especially calling it like a cult. I mean, that's crazy. And what is it that started all of this? It's not even the person that she says abused her. It's someone else. It's someone else that is participating in Vitali's streams. And she's trying to say it's that guy, right?
And she told me she had a similar experience with another man from the church's worship team, and they treated her situation the same as mine. She told me that she didn't feel safe at the church for a long time and was angry at the pastors in the church. She told me if I wanted something done about it, to go to the police, since that's what she had to do. The pastors and this woman verbatim would tell me the same things to try to silence me. I assume she was just repeating what was told to her to silence her about her abuse as well. Allegedly, the church has done things like this before. There's a whole support group page for other people who have also allegedly survived abuse from this church. Grayson's girlfriend told me I needed to take accountability for
I know me personally, if a guy that's my boss offers me anything or tried anything sexual, I'd report it immediately. I wouldn't partake in something for months. Based? That is a fair point. I mean, she, you know, participated in this initially. And that would be null and void if he had done like a giga rape. But he didn't do a giga rape. So, you know, it's like, you did get into bed with the boss. And that is going to blow back on you in some way. If they raped you, that's not reasonable blowback. But some level here is like, well, yeah, it's going to get complicated. I only got invited to the one event I went to when I finally gave in and had full-blown sex with him on the nasty carpet in the conference room. There's no HR department and he's Grayson's cousin. It would have been extremely difficult to prove anything. Right? Why not quit? Because it was such a good opportunity. That's what I'm saying about responsibility. Oh my god, this person is so based. Are you kidding?
letting the abuse get as bad as it did. It was so hard for me to finally report him because I feared that Grayson and the church would take the abuse lightly and be on Zach's side. And look, I've been ostracized and Zach is still a prominent member of the church, and they fully support that man going on that Nepal trip, and I'm sure all of his future mission trips. Zach told me he liked how innocent I was and that my heart was pure because I'd never dated anyone before. What do you think he'll think of the women in those villages and do to them?
Wait, what? Mr. Rape is going worldwide. But this is what I mean about overstating it. It's like overstating the harm and the issue to paint this image of this guy that's going to be going around to random villages and molesting like women and shit. It's fucking insane, dude.
I've reached out to others involved in this Nepal trip about my concerns, and they ignored and blocked me. It's not surprising at all knowing they are all connected to Fearless. This organization, Respect the Corners, is involved in this trip, and they were the only ones to respond, and they said they would look further into the situation, so we'll see what happens. I hope...
I mean, like, no one fucking... Like, if you... Here's the thing. If you think someone is a threat to society to this level where you're willing to communicate, go to the fucking police and make a report with them. Like, you're getting to the point where you're harassing. You're harassing these people and harassing this org. Like, yeah, it kind of sucks if this ends up happening to someone else, but that's not your fucking lookout, is it? At the end of the day. Like, I don't know, what you've made your peace, you've said your piece about it. This comes across like you've had your nose put out of joint and you're going out of the way to fuck with them, rather than this being a genuine kind of thing that you're doing. You know, that's my perspective on this.
Hope Zach
goes to rehab. You've got to get over it at the end of the day and move on. What more can you do? It's not your fucking lookout.
And gets the help that he needs, and that these people, this church is evil, and I know that more things are going to come out about them because they're sick, in my opinion.
Okay.
Whoever you're with, and I'll...
Yeah, I mean... I don't know. I just, I don't want to write this off as, oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with this guy and he probably is totally fine. I think that I'd probably want to find a word worse than fuckboy to describe him. Like, he probably does have some issues, But I just think she's overstating it to make a case, and then she's using that to justify this harassment campaign. and they got rid of him, and it feels like that's not enough for her, and she wants more life ruination for this guy, and it's not happening. And obviously she feels like she can't go to the police, there's not enough there, or doesn't want to for whatever reason, and so she's going through these other means to try and get the result. Yeah, exactly. It's like he got fired, and it's like you want him banned from the planet, and it's like it's not really up to you at the end of the day. If you think he's a threat and a risk, the best chance you've got is to go to the police, plead your case to them, explain the situation, and that's about all you can do. I don't think you're going to get this outcome that you want of like him being cancelled, essentially, you know? And yeah, abusive cult. Is it really a cult? Dude, I'm getting Mama Max vibes as well. Mama Max vibes calling it a cult. Okay. Anyway, guys, there we go. That is that. What do you reckon? Thoughts?